Must be some fuckery with this world, yeah.
Hi.
Hey, Ronin. Hey, Mauricio.
Hi, Mary. Hi, Ronan.
Hi.
Mm.
Hey, Ronan.
Oh,
Hi from Fedora.
Hi.
Hello.
There are a couple maybes. Sim and Firebee could potentially join. But yeah.
You're doing great.
The one next to it. Yep.
Well, I remember from the one event I was to that it's about trying to improve. Like the each event we do, each event we attend, the goal would be to like maybe improve something, learn something, change something for the better each time. At least ideally.
Mm.
Trying to read the little plaque. I mean, well, I could probably still go. Yeah, kindness is different than niceness. We value kindness as a way to. Oh, yeah. Yes, yes. I mean, it's a nice, happy feeling anyway. Yeah. Treating people with respect. Um, Kindness does not always mean doing easiest thing. Um, this is definitely the value that I'm always kind of going back and forth in my mind on, trying to remember the exact wording. But
You're doing well
now
so
I'm in the
far.
spotlight. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We want to help people by sometimes providing the information that isn't always the most comfortable to hear, but it is something that can bring about. Oh, that's not the right word. No, I'm sorry. I'm struggling on this one, but right, because we iterate. Um, it's a matter of like helping people in ways that would benefit them in an understanding that makes sense for them. Being empathetic, being able to see what they need, what their wants, needs, what helps them, taking their best interests as your own, something like that. Niceness can be more or less like it's more performative in terms of what niceness might be. And I think kindness is something that takes a bit more it takes more understanding of the other person, the other side. That's how I would put it.
Very good. Uh,
Mary, help us out.
yeah, I'll take stewardship. Oh wait, Saved by the Bell. We'll get Amani to do one.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh, he. I actually would love to hear Amani's explanation of that.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
I was in some VR traffic.
Hi.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on?
Hi.
I'm Barry. Nice to meet you. Okay. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. For me, especially just now in this time period, it's about I was just thinking about this from the perspective of what I guess I'm dealing with, but also what I'm noticing with like generational transition. Sometimes there's like I feel like there's a torch being passed either voluntarily or just know when it's time to pick up something and leave it better than where you found it. So that's kind of what comes to mind for me. Just yeah, yeah. Thank you.
It's an easy one. You could just say, "Well, we're streaming."
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also about being open and how do I put it? I guess there's a truth to it as well, like being truthful and letting other people see that truth. Yeah, I'll keep it simple as that. Mm.
Oops.
Sorry.
I'd say it's your brain works differently. That's getting right to the point.
Yeah, nice and short. Hmm.
Go ahead. I'll go after you now.
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead. Go
sorry,
ahead.
Armani.
Okay.
Neurodivergent would refer to in my mouth when I'm saying it would refer to someone who has patterns of behavior or patterns of something going on with uh, the internal life of their behavior or their perception or whatever that uh, that significantly deviate from the average, I would say.
Mm.
Mm.
You're fine. I'll jump into it. Yeah. No, you're fine. Sure. Yeah. Well, I can do a little bit both. Yeah. Because this kind of I think it touched on both, but I'll add on to what you said for Fedora and with I hear like referring to a like difference from like a normal, which I guess a normal is like something that's defined as like a trying to think of how to describe it because it is a little tricky, but it's like there's a normal that's expected from like society, I guess, in some ways, and then it's like I guess with the behavioral differences, there's like a I guess what I'm getting at is it's a deviation from an expected normal, but how that's expected is yeah, there's something with that.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna insist a little bit because I did mention behaviors, and it's true that it materializes in behaviors. But I also mentioned another thing that's, I mean, important because I use behaviors for lack of a better term, but I also noticeably mentioned perception because in many cases a lot of it comes from the perception as well, different perception. Hmm.
Perhaps people within which society was whose behavioral patterns society was structured around. Good question.
Oh no, it's all right. I can wait for my turn as well if someone else was trying to speak. No, okay.
I don't have anything.
So for me, neurotypical would be someone who's like patterns of behaviors and perception and so on, and all the list do not deviate significantly from the average and do not impact their quality of life or quality of interactions with other people as much. Because neurotypical people that would be classified as quote unquote neurotypical in my mind can still have some patterns of behaviors that deviate from the norm in some ways. Like some people who do not qualify for a full diagnosis as like autistic or schizophrenic or something else, could have some traits from those and still have some interesting like character traits from those or something, but not qualify as neurodivergent because as a whole they do not deviate significantly enough from the average, and it does not impact their lives too much in some ways.
I feel like I go
you
ahead,
can go
Pro.
ahead.
Okay, I'll go. That I feel like I don't have much more to add because I agree with what's being said, and I actually just don't have more to add on top of it. I feel like it's like the concept is like exhausted as far as my knowledge goes.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar. I feel like a lot has been said that I definitely agree with. I feel like the term for identifying and measuring and quantifying what counts as neurodivergent or typical, it really only came up in like not even the last century. And I think it only really started becoming more noticeable as just ways people are starting to categorize the way that people think and feel. And when people have problems in society, quote unquote, or they don't fit in, they must be labeled as something is wrong with them, quote unquote. And these more legitimate, you could say, institutions needed ways to classify this stuff. Definitely out of benefits for helping people with accommodations and whatnot, but I would say it's also been something that's been throughout history for a long time. We just never had ways to identify or label them or even be consciously aware of like that brains could even be this different. And it seems like what is typical is just what is average and displaying a lot of patterns that just fit into how a lot of people function and expect to function. And whenever you deviate from those patterns, that's when people start putting labels and trying to figure out, oh, well, this isn't normal. So, if this isn't, what we're expecting or they're reacting this way, then we can find ways to either help or label or, yeah, I would say average and societal expectations definitely like differentiate between the two and how people behave and react.
Yeah. I'll throw something in. I have something I'm saving for later, but yeah, I might just save it for later at this point. I think yeah.
I just want to remark on something which might just be an ideal in my head, but I'd like to think that very strong community, an empathetic community, is a space in which neurodiversity stops being so in need of special support and is just supported as individuals.
Hmm. Between
Sorry, can you
neurotypical
repeat?
and
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad about that because I was thinking how I cannot provide the exact definitions, but I had feelings about those two terms. And well, to me, it feels like there is just a bit more or some negativity in the disorder as opposed to condition. To me, it seems to imply that someone just deviates from the norm, from the normal quotation marks, and like there is some negativity about it. Whereas condition, it seems more neutral to me. Like, well, here is a trait, a quirk that a person has, and it feels like there is a bit more empathy about it, about that fact. It's like a thing that someone has to deal with, but and that's it. And like the disorder implies that it's something that's like wrong, maybe something about the words used. That's about it.
I know. You're fine. Yeah. Yeah. I'm halfway now. I'm halfway stretched and also like his man. But yeah, what comes to mind for me with both of those and add on to your responsibility is like I think about how healthcare treats one versus the other and like treatment, but also like depending on the country to like insurance, how insurers treat those one versus the other and how much healthcare costs for one versus the other and I guess the weight of that on people's finances. with one versus the other, and whether that leads to different diagnoses, or I don't know. But that's what comes to mind for me. And kind of just like out of the weight of the financial like burden of that. So you're fine. I do it all the time. I got drift. I got drift. I deal with the same thing. Yeah. There's a way to I'll say there's a way to like this is separate, by the way. There's a way to like I have mine set to where I have instead of thumbstick point, there's like a way to set it to point to trigger instead. That way it kind of helps. I have to find it though. We'll find out later. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to. Yeah, I'd like to sort of semi-reflect back what Amani said with a word that kind of came to mind, and that is the word fault. Disorder feels like there's a fault involved. Like this is someone's fault. We don't necessarily know whose, but there is like that's almost implied. It's part of the subtext. Whereas condition, there is no fault implied in that. It almost is the opposite. It feels faultless.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So, pardon my French, English isn't my native language, so I'm not so sure. But for me, when you say disorder, it kind of evokes something mechanically, a description mechanically of something that does not work, of like a mechanism that does not work as expected, versus condition, which is just a very generic term. Like you, when I'm thinking of it, for example, when I think to ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or autism spectrum, which is considered a neurodevelopmental disorder, it kind of refers to a specific thing that does not work as expected, versus condition that is a bit more general. Kind of a disorder would be a type of a specific kind of condition, in my understanding.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was just nodding in agreement, but yeah, I definitely agree with what everyone has said so far. It does feel like condition is just sort of like a general like it's like it's a classification, whereas disorder, you could look at the word itself like disorder. It's against order, so it's causing a disruption. That's what people identify it as. And yeah, I think it's a bit semantic in most cases, and yeah, I would imagine that clinically there's probably a distinct definition between the two. Um, but based on just, vibes and what we can identify by reading the words, it does feel like there is sort of like you could say like a strong difference between them. But overall, it's definitely still just a form of labeling, and like, something that's not orderly is a problem typically. So if it's a disorder, that means it's just something we can label as you know, this makes it harder for this person if they have this condition. A condition might not always be a problem, but every disorder is a condition, I guess you could say. Like, yeah, not every, yeah, like not every condition is a disorder, but every disorder is a condition. Like, hmm. Yeah, I think that would be the way to put it. I mean, I guess you could have a condition that's not harmful or disorderly, like I don't know, your skin is blue. And maybe that is a disorder, but if you're like a fantasy creature, I guess I don't know. I'm trying to think of things off the top of my head. Like, oh, I didn't know that.
That's a thing. Yeah.
Maybe that is a disorder. I don't know.
There's a few people who consume silver to considering it
Colloidal
has.
silver.
Yeah, nice. You know the term. Cool.
I said colloidal silver. It's a like it's a popular alternative treatment. Put it that way.
Hmm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mario.
No, that's cool.
I'm gonna sit over here. That's fine. Yeah. It's fine. You're fine. It's fine. You're fine. It's fine. Yeah. I'll just be brief and say, I think it really started when I jumped into the VR chat, and just also VR in general, really. That's when it really picked up for me. Just seeing, just really noticing. So, but that speaks to something else, I guess I could say, trend-wise, I think about, there are different groups, different areas, but I don't know. I feel like I'm speaking towards like it may be like a bias, but I don't know if this is just my observation, just noticing how different areas are more accommodative for neurotypical neuro diverse groups, and I think that's how places like VR chat, I guess also VR, I see more neurodiverse groups, but it's how it's entered my life. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a bigger crowd on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've never been diagnosed, but I believe I am on the autistic spectrum, and I've watched a lot of videos from autistic people who are diagnosed, and they talk about some of the things that they notice seem to be common with that, and I seem to tick quite a few boxes on that list. But one thing I have noticed is that I seem to have an unspoken empathetic connection with other people on the spectrum. It's like I can see them do stuff, and I'm like, I know who this person is, not on like a social level, but just on a behavioral, unconscious level.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's interesting.
mm,
Mhm.
Oh, I could probably talk for the rest of the session, but I'll try to keep it brief. I will say, yeah, it's been in my life pretty much for my entire life in ways that didn't really make sense until I was older. Like when I was young, I learned pretty quickly that my brother had autism, but it was always kind of very confusing to understand what the term autism really meant because he has really bad speech impediment and the inability to really come to like his own conclusions on a lot of things without like lots of external support. And to realize much later in life that autism is like, I don't know, maybe even like at Mary's level was a major shocker to me. It's like that's if that's autism, then like that's like very, very misunderstood. Because I would always tell people like, "Oh yeah, my brother has autism," and I figured people would just kind of nod and be like, "Oh yeah, it's like special needs and all that." But I needed a lot of special needs when I was in grade school, and it turns out I had dyslexia, which wasn't diagnosed until after I had finished college, which was kind of like a major relief, but also like a serious form of frustration as I'd been going to so many doctors and none of them could identify what it was that made me struggle in school. I was given accommodations not for any particular reason, it was just sort of approved. Like, yeah, he needs more time. And it's like, yeah, like no one could figure out that I was struggling when, math, for instance, was a subject I did perfectly well in compared to everything else. But the moment math
mm,
problems had questions that involved, a word problem explaining like the question like let's say Jeremy has 5 apples and Alyssa has 8
Mhm.
apples. It's like somehow I was failing those questions and they didn't understand why. Um, there's just so much about dyslexia as it really proves that a lot of what we categorize as neurotypical and you know divergent is still to this day extremely poorly understood. And as much as we have given so much support for people with like ADHD, which has been extremely popular, there are so many more conditions like dyslexia that are probably on just an even wider spectrum than autism in terms of how people's brains process and think. And one person might say they have a condition and another person might say they've also been diagnosed with that, and they won't be the same person at all, which is also a bit frustrating. But yeah, and it's even gotten to the point where like I think my parents have neurotypical or neurodivergent tendencies, and it wasn't until like even after my dyslexia diagnosis that my mom realized like, oh yeah, she's always had trouble spelling things. It's like, Mom,
mm,
you didn't tell me this before. um
mm,
it's like it's been a major rough, like, just frustration throughout life that people have expectations of you and don't understand how your brain works. Like, I was even told directly by like my dad at one point, like, why aren't you trying hard enough to do like this writing assignment? And it's like, I am trying as hard as I possibly can, and I can't even meet the bare minimum. It must be me that is the what is wrong here, because I clearly am not getting it because it seems so easy to everyone else. Um, and that kind of attitude, that kind of ignorance is really the heart of the problem of all discussions about neurodiversity, diversity, as we all suffer greatly for just having entirely different perspectives on the universe and having subjective realities that cannot translate with enough words or any sort of expression that humans can provide to make it so we understand each other. So it's, yeah, huge problem in my life. I feel like I've been studying it so much, and yeah, I'm not even like sure, I had that dyslexia diagnosis, but I went in specifically expecting ADHD, which the person there was like, no, I'm pretty sure you don't have it because I have ADHD and you don't seem to have it like I do. And it's like, is that bias affecting the outcome here? I don't know. I still feel like I experience lots of ADHD symptoms, switching topics really quickly and just having a lot of problems that ADHD people face all the time. So I've always been curious if I need to go and get reevaluated, considering how many people I've read online that adults in like their 30s or 40s getting another test and then getting full new diagnoses prescribed at them. And maybe like I also found out I have OCD, which causes massive perfectionism, but it doesn't cause me to do things like I need to flick the lights on and off to make sure like I have like a tick or something like that. It's such a mess. It's a giant concoction of brain chemicals that I guess had at some point served our ancestors, like, picking berries is really, really like a survival mechanism for people that supported humanity in the past for some individuals, but then other people, it was, once we got to a society where we have to take tests and drive cars to work, suddenly it's a problem. So, God, there's so much I could say, but I'm going to yield my time for other people.
All right, I understand.
I'm gonna try to be brief for the sake of time. For me, technically, neurodivergence entered my life twice when I was born because I was diagnosed on the autistic spectrum, and when I was diagnosed because I was diagnosed at 31. So I kind of had to first learn to live, just kind of figuring out stuff by myself, and then at 31 I got the diagnosis, which was an experience, put it that way. And I will just point out, as one of those adults who take an evaluation test later on in life and discover stuff, that it's also because, like, it's also important to keep in mind that all classifications are deep down arbitrary. They're arbitrary because they are. It doesn't mean that they're meaningless, but they're arbitrary because they are made by consortiums or like committees of doctors in most cases, and because it fits the needs of the medical community when it comes to supporting people who need support. But deep down, it is still arbitrary, and our understanding of a lot of those conditions and or disorders is still pretty new. 100 years ago, none of that stuff existed. And when I was a kid in the 90s, Asperger's as it was called back in the day. I'm not too fond of this name, but Asperger's as it was called back in the day. When I was 5-6 years old, it was not even codified as something really. It did not exist, medically speaking. And our understanding of all of this is still pretty new, like a few decades new at this point for some aspects of it, and it's evolving extremely rapidly. So, and it's filtered through layers of medical community, medical kind of education, media, the pop culture, blah 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 blah. So yeah, it's all extremely messy. But deep down, it's messy in a big part because as a species, we're still figuring this stuff out a lot.
Yeah, I will try to keep it short. So where I come from, the neurodivergent traits, well, I was not aware that they exist because I guess they were something that should be like repressed and ignored and hidden, and just like it would be better to just pretend that a person is normal and like just don't think about it. It's like weird, right? And it was realistically only in VR chat last year that I made contact with all the neurodivergent stuff in the world, and now I can see how much of it I have, the people around me may have, and like I can now like admit that yeah, there are just differences in me that make some things difficult for me. But now I also see that there are people in my family who also have traits that make basic things in life difficult for them, and yet they are just not willing to admit that anything like that exists. But that's all.
Oh no. Yeah.
Oof.
Facing further.
CFO.
It's okay. Okay.
A good time to take a sneaky photo while we're huddled, right?
No. I do that. I was gonna throw in I'll have to put this in the Discord, but I was gonna shout out a book I had in my book club. Another book club called Empire of Normality. It's by Robert Chapman, and yeah, it was a really good book about yeah, it argues about how systems, I'll just say systems of like capitalism are like established around like the suffering of neurodivergent people, basically. So, but I'll throw it in the Discord. We can kind of chat more about it. It's really nice. Yeah. No, it's nice. Thanks for the friend, Joe. It's okay.